Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the Berlin-Boylston Regional School Committee's Budget Subcommittee to order. All right, so thank you everyone for coming today. We're going to be discussing the upcoming fiscal year 25 budget. So Nancy handed out these packets. So two things one thing I'd really like to accomplish today is, and I'm hoping, Chris, maybe Berlin will be able to, I have the Boylston side, we have a number from them as to I don't want to say a drop dead number, but a number where they would like us to be. Mm-hmm. It would be helpful if we could get that same type of guidance from Berlin.
I thought we had given something to Carol and Nancy at one point.
The 2.5%?
Yes.
Increase. Yes.
Okay, so it's a percentage. All right,
Yes.
so 2.5% for operating.
Right, yes.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yes.
so that's the set in stone. All right. Okay. So what Nancy did, and I'm going to let her go through this, and then we can talk about questions. So what Nancy did is, all right, this is good. So does everybody have or Nancy, do we have the original, where is it? The presentation.
So one thing I didn't print.
That's okay.
Do you want me to?
No.
You sure?
Yep. All right, so Nancy, what we've done is, all right, so let's just talk operating first, right? So first, our original ask for operating.
So if you look right here, it's the bottom.
You have it on the bottom.
It's
Okay.
on the bottom line right there. Yeah. See right there, total.
Yeah. All right. And you have the percentage increases right here. Oh, for the level.
Yes.
All right, so why don't you explain this
Okay.
sheet right here?
Okay.
Because this shows, so Nancy, we asked Nancy.
So let's start with, can we start with this sheet?
Yeah, you want to start with that?
This
Sure.
sheet.
Yeah. Okay.
So this sheet takes the information that the town gave us as to where they would like us to be with the fiscal year 25 budget compared to how we presented the budget on February 27th to the school committee. So to quickly go over it, for BMS, we would need to stay within line at 2.5%. Berlin would like us to be. We would have to cut approximately $733,000
Just at that school.
just at that school to stay within line. For Toronto, for Berlin, we would have to cut about $508,000 to stay within line of the town's request. For Capital, we would have to cut $1.1 million.
Can I ask you a question? Is that with the 800,000 quoted roof for the Capitol?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is everything that was presented to the committee on the 27th. Nothing's been taken out at this point in time. This is just kind of to give us an idea of what is requested, or what we would need to cut to stay in line for the towns.
Okay.
So for Boylston, for the elementary school, we need to cut. They gave us an amount of $500,000. I split it between the two schools, so it's $652,000 from the elementary school and $435,000 from high school. I do not have a capital number, so that's left empty for Boylston.
So in
left
essence,
blank.
Tohoto is really being asked to cut 900, 900, whatever.
Yeah, but out of this
Yeah.
out of this million in Boylston,
Yeah.
We
In 907.
already got it down to Carol.
So that's this page, right? Is that where you're going?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you go to that
The
page.
next page is that. This
That was the
Yeah.
first page one. Yep. Yeah.
The other, okay, so this is split out of, you'll see our above level. So this is, anything that is highlighted in yellow is what is recommended keeping in the budget by our superintendent. Everything else could be taken out per the superintendent's recommendation.
In
So-
consultation with the principal.
In consultation with the principals, yes. So that is where we are at this point in time with above level. One thing I do want to note that has come up since all of this was prepared is we have a new out-of-district student at Tohoto for $75,000 and an additional special education transportation for $24,000 at BMS. So that's not factored in
It's
anywhere.
not in these numbers?
No, that's
Okay.
brand new. So unfortunately, those are additions.
What's the transportation gonna be?
24,000.
So it's another 75K.
Mm-hmm.
That came in yesterday.
Yep.
That's mandated
Constant-
increases.
Constant changing, right? Yep.
Okay.
So that shows you that you have the level figures per school. Keep in mind when you're looking at the level figures, it's everything included for the school. It's not what's recommended by the superintendent because it's not approved by the school committee. So I kept it for everything. So the level is your first column where you'll see level, and then you got the above level above it. So your above level for BMS is approximately 203,000. BES is 257,000, and Tohoto is 475,000. So your total above level is 935,000. And then below that, you'll see your level, and then your total budget, which is currently, as of the February 27th meeting, at almost 25 million, $24,819,000. Below breaks out your percentages, so you can kind of see the percentages of where they land. Same information, just percentage-wise.
This will change though because of the out of district,
Yes,
and
yes.
particularly in BMS
Yeah.
was into -1%. So now
Yeah,
it's going to be.
so BMS is -1%, BES is 7%, Tohoto is 8%, and district-wide 6%. That's just where we are level. That's your level.
So that doesn't include
Percentage
any
increase.
above level.
That doesn't
not
include
even the gold
any above level.
ones.
Right.
Okay.
That's just, if we were to present a level budget at this point in time, it would be a 6% increase district-wide. Sorry, you were going to ask a question.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I mean, I know that we gave you $300,000 last year, 360 or 80 or whatever it was.
Yes.
There is some of that left, I assume, which could be used for the special education portion, the transportation.
So, yes and no. So, it's being taken by other items in the budget. So, we'll get to that so you can look at the detailed budget of how the money is allocated.
You're talking about that was the
Yes,
school
yes.
choice.
So,
That was for the special education
Yes.
over the top.
Yes.
So
So some of those
that was the free
last year.
cash that we had put in to help balance the budget last year.
Yes.
So
That
you
was the
added
one-time-
free cash into the operating. That you
Yes.
guys gave us free cash to put towards the operating budget.
Yes, and,
Yes.
and unfortunately, now for this next budget, you're starting with
I
that
understand.
addition, and
Yeah.
we had not intended that to happen.
No, I understand.
right.
So
yeah, it was
there you go.
382,715. Right.
Right. So I mean,
Yeah.
But wait, what was voted on at town? So I guess my question is, and I wasn't at the Berlin town meeting. Nancy and I were talking about this though. So at the meeting, you vote on the assessment, right? That's the number that's voted on. Did the assessment number that was voted at town meeting include that free cash, or did
I
you have
don't
to have a
think it did.
separate? That's what I'm saying. You must have had a separate article.
no, it wasn't a separate article.
Because it's too
Because
late.
I
when
have
it's
it right
time to
here.
double
I have it.
articles
I
by the
have
time But from all the negotiations for using that free cash, it was continually reiterated that 300
Not to be added to
was
the
only
base of the
to
budget.
adjust the
I
special
thought I had
ed
it. I know.
Left mine at home because
Right.
for 1 year.
So can you print out the meeting?
And I know Kristen had been working on that.
I
So,
haven't heard a
Carol printed that
definitive
for
answer.
us. Sorry, Carol
my
had printed that. I don't know if you have that in your notes, Carol.
Hmm.
It would be from the meeting minutes at town meeting, the assessment.
I know the amount. I just hold on one second. I can get it for you. Yeah. So the amount that was on the warrant at town meeting was $4,307,149.
And Nancy, did that amount include that cash?
That did.
Yes.
That's the problem.
But being told over and over again that that was not to be made a part of your budget to move on to the next year was very clear.
Even though you added it, so you took free cash and you guys added it to the assessment number in the warrant, and that was what was voted on at town meeting, but you had a back of envelope deal or a verbal agreement saying,
Repeated
This was
many
repeated through the
times.
whole negotiation.
no, I get it. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand. So
Yeah.
the warrant number, because it's so confusing. So the warrant number a number that the town voted on as the assessment included $350,000 of free cash.
Not
It wasn't
350, 382, 715.
Okay.
Just so
whatever.
we're all on the same page.
382.
The 350 was the school choice.
350 was a school choice. So the 382 was included in that assessment number. What about the 350 for the school choice?
That was not included in the assessment.
Okay, so
number
that's
because
our
those
own.
funds came
Yep.
from
So
the
that's
school.
our own. So fine. So the assessment number that was voted included that 382. You guys didn't have to have a separate. It wasn't like nobody had to make an amendment and say 382,000 of this was not actually assessment. It's being moved from free cash.
The finance committee, I believe, made the motion when you went through the budget, is what Kristen was telling me. Is that correct?
That I don't remember because
Yeah.
I was taking notes. I wasn't. doing
Right.
It's interesting because I know when I do free cash and it's appropriated on town meeting for a purpose, it can only be used for that purpose, and that's it.
That's what I'm asking.
That's what
Why
she's
wouldn't
saying,
that amount of money should only be used for special ed? That was what it was indicated it should be
Right.
used
If it's
for.
getting moved, I
It
don't know
shouldn't be
how that
used
works
for
on the
other
school
things.
side, but that would not pass my accountants.
So that's what I'm asking is if somebody is able to find and I can do it right now, if somebody is able to find the minutes. Carol had printed it for us. Actually,
did.
Nicole had printed the minutes from town meeting so we can see if that number is included in there. I agree with April. I know, and again, I'm no expert on town law. We could reach out to our attorneys, but if you're taking something if something is free cash, it's called out separately. Like, hey, this is a one-time thing you're voting on.
Yeah.
It's not changing your assessment number.
Right.
The assessment number is going to the collector or the treasurer, and that's how they determine taxes. So I guess the number the town voted on included that 382. So then was that incorporated in the assessment? Nancy, have we tied out? Is Berlin actually giving us that?
Yes.
So that's tied into the assessment right there. So whether you guys moved the free cash or not, if that wasn't called out at town meeting, that was the assessment. I'm just saying from a starting number, because if she starts with a different number,
She has.
who is? Kristen has?
Yeah.
Well,
Nancy.
No, Nancy's starting
yeah,
with the
that's why
number that
there's
ties
two
to.
lines here, right?
What's that?
That's why there's two lines here.
This is
Nancy-
the one that
It's
we were
where-
hoping for?
This is what we have.
Right.
And this is what you have.
That's right.
Yeah.
But Nancy, the number you're using,
is the true assessment.
that ties to the assessment.
Yes.
Okay.
And the warrant.
And the warrant.
Yes.
That's what I'm asking. So, well, one way or the other, the money is needed. So whether it's you used it as free cash, it doesn't matter. The increase is what it is, right? Whatever your starting number is.
So at the end,
So why would that money be used for anything else?
No, it was used. What was it used for? It was used for the increase.
Probably
it was
salaries.
used. It was used for programming for additional students that enrolled at the end of the year.
Okay.
It was
so
used-
it's part of the it's in the budget.
Well,
Yes.
we're still starting at this lower number.
All right, so then your
Regardless.
percentages are different, and that's why maybe it makes sense for you guys to provide us with a dollar figure like Boylston did.
Right.
So,
Well, that shouldn't make any difference. You should be able to do the math. And if your budget is up past 2.5 for us, then, it isn't going to fly.
well, it flies if it passes at town meeting. But I guess my
Right.
point is, in Boylston, what we've worked out is we're trying to figure out where's your 2.5? Where's your levy limit? That's what we're trying to figure out. So if you're able to provide that number or percentage based on whatever number, if Kristen is able, because Nancy's number is a different starting number than yours, I'm just trying to avoid confusion and having the wrong number, because I don't want to go in and no, we don't need an override here. We want to be clear on where the levy limit is and what would determine an override situation.
I want to be clear
That's all I'm
too,
trying
that
to get at.
the difference in the figures is not the free cash. The difference in the figures is the 350 school choice.
So
Just
the free
we're all-
cash is not in the.
Yes. So the free cash is in the assessment. I think
School choice is
Kristen's
not.
numbers agree with that. My numbers agree
Oh,
with
so
that.
Kristen has the free cash in the assessment. You just said she didn't.
So the,
She doesn't.
well,
She
then,
does not.
then we need Kristen, because this is the figure. Okay, then we need Kristen. Because
Why wouldn't
was,
that be the number without
The last
the
con-
382,000?
I just subtracted the blue line from the white line,
Yeah.
and it's 382,
Right.
715.
Yeah,
And
so that's the free
that's
cash.
That's the free cash. That's
difference.
not the school choice.
School choice
I
was
said it backwards.
350.
This gets so confusing. I
Yeah, 350
apologize.
is a school choice. 382 is a free.
School choice, take that out. That's our own stuff.
Yeah,
I'm talking
I
about
agree.
assessment. We're going back and forth on the 382.
The reason that we gave the 382 was to help cover the entire cost,
Sorry.
and you put in the 350 as
Yeah.
part of it.
So together
That was
it
the
covers it.
special. It was $1 million.
Yeah,
or
no,
something.
I recall the deal. I just didn't know that it got voted on. So, like in Boylston, the number was wrong on the warrant. Before I met with the attorney, I had to read an amendment. I actually read it down. So they actually subtracted. We had a similar deal with Boylston. We subtracted that from the assessment. Okay, and then the assessment that was voted on in Boylston was the actual assessment, right? That was what we did. So I assumed that was what happened in Berlin. You're telling me that is not. You're telling me the assessment that was voted on in
Well,
Berlin
it was clear to us, but
included
apparently it
the-
wasn't clear to the school district that we were not going to add that money into the following year's budget and start from there.
Okay.
So
All right. So yeah. So anyways, we're
Okay.
looking at the delta. So Nancy, then use the number less the 382. We're still looking at the delta. So that means
Right.
we have to cut an additional $382,000.
Yeah.
All we're trying to get at is what is your number, however you calculate it.
That
If
was
she
it.
does it different, or if Kristen does it different, whatever.
At
It is
the end
what
of
it
the
is.
day, you just add
At the end of the
382
day,
to
we're
it,
looking
right?
at the delta. We're
Right.
not looking at
Right.
the beginning or the ending. So, well, we are looking at the ending. But I still think, and again, I'd have to consult with counsel, and I'll reach out to Kim on that. Moving forward, your assessment number should not include any amount that you're using
we're,
free
we're
cash.
right now have a call into council about this also.
Okay. All right. Good. So we'll reach out to our council as well, and just see. Either way, it doesn't matter if you're saying, if you're saying we only have $500,000 to give you, whatever that 1 and 2.5% comes out to. We only have $500,000 to give you. Whether the 382, we still need the 382 plus whatever the other increase is. If it's 500,000 is the drop dead number. It just means we have
Well,
to
it
cut
might
another
have to-
382,000.
yeah,
Yeah,
might have to-
exactly.
yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get at. All right. So whether it comes out of the beginning number or the
Am I on
delta.
same page as you?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Just want to make sure.
That's fine. And honestly, council can reply either way. But I just mean for moving forward, if we ever make a deal or if there's ever another arrangement where Berlin is going to use free cash to pay for operating assessments, I think maybe it should be a separate item on the.
And that's basically, I would say, why, I don't know about the FinCom, but the select board says 2.5, that's it. Because, you're
Yep.
starting with a higher number and that was not to be intended. I don't
Okay.
know how FinCom is going to vote. You have a meeting tonight.
We have a meeting tonight because the school board is coming tonight. And that
We're not coming tonight. I didn't know that. We had a meeting tonight. I'm sorry. I did not. I was unaware. No one reached out to me.
Oh, it's on my calendar too.
Scott told me that he had scheduled it with you guys. Is that
Julie,
correct?
did you receive an email?
Are you going?
Was in question. I didn't know whether I was going or not.
But you knew about it.
Yeah.
Okay. You'll have to let Scott know then, otherwise, if you're not going. But I think, we've got something we have to solve here before very long because, we're going to send our warrant out to be printed and all.
Yeah, so, and I don't know if you heard before, but our final vote for the number will be on March 19th. so the number coming from the school district, what the final budget will be is you guys will have it, March 20th.
And so why is it getting so late every year?
We have a consultant, and he advised us, just due to the ever-changing nature of the incoming special ed students and the revenue calculations from the state. He advised us waiting as long as possible to vote, and the law indicates that we have to wait. The latest you can vote is 45 days.
But the problem is you
But
won't
we usually
fit.
get a
You won't
very
fit
solid.
into the town budgets if you don't do it in a timely manner. And then you'll just get the 2.5.
Well, again, I
Because
think
we
you'll
need to-
get whatever the town votes. I guess I'm looking for 2.5 is what you're saying you guys recommend. I guess I'm looking for, what if the town comes in and they vote, they want to give 10%? That's going to push you to override, right?
The only reason
I guess I'm just looking, where's your levy capacity? Where's your ceiling? I guess that's what I'm
and
looking
I'm not
for.
sure that should matter.
Yeah, because Berlin has always been conservative with its levy capacity because it's dangerous to get too close to it. Because once you do, you never get it back.
And so, we did this one-time thing last year, and it was out of free cash, so that we didn't raise taxes any more than we already did. We had to do like 9% or something for Berlin last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't continue to do that. There won't be any levy capacity.
So what do you suggest when there's growth in the town and the schools?
You have to stay within a limit and do like a 5-year plan and say, these are all the things we want, and we spread it out over the 5 years.
Yeah, we have that.
We've been doing that. Last year we cut hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, but you first added it.
Yeah.
It wasn't cuts. You added it to your budget, and then you said, oh, that's too high. We'll cut out some of the stuff we added. So that's not really cutting your budget. That's cutting what you added.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it true that there's a little bit of a problem because CARES Act money went into the
Yes.
formula?
Yes.
And CARES Act money, everybody knew that it was a 1-year thing and that was it. And then that got kind of folded in, and then
Yes, it
then
did.
increases were on top
You're
of that.
100% right,
all
April.
of those new hires
Yep.
now all of a sudden became the responsibility of the town, which pushed us
Right.
percentage-wise higher. So we didn't do that. We received free CARES Act money as well, and we used it on one-time expenditures. We did not build it into
The budget.
personnel.
Yeah, I think the CARES Act stuff that we got, though, it had to be used, right? Some of those grants were stipulated.
Some of the usage was for personnel.
Yeah.
Or programs, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so
And I think some of our services that developed because of COVID, we needed a lot of these additional positions that were built into the grants. And then after the grants went away, we still needed like some of the positions.
yeah.
So it's a very tough position to be in.
Yeah, I would say we didn't get a lot of money, a lot of funding for that, but there were a few things. I'm thinking of the FSP, for example, Family Success Partnership with Assabet Valley.
I don't know anything about this.
Right, that was a program. It's a
Right,
program
for-
that we
for the
used
schools.
during that.
I thought we cut that last year.
Then we did.
Yep.
Then we had there was an adjustment counselor was one in consideration.
Right.
It wasn't so many because the money went like that. It wasn't, so-
Yeah,
Go
the
back
adjustment
and look at
counselor, we both, all schools, the principals have said there's very high need.
Right.
I
But
think
to your
the
point,
mental health crisis.
that
and,
that did impact us a bit, yeah.
But I would also say that we don't see any assessments from Assabet because we're not part of that. But when did you guys receive your assessment from Assabet? It's been quite a while now.
Weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
It was,
So I
when
understand.
did they come? Was it February?
Yeah, it was the 7th or the 14th.
And they do an estimate, and almost every year they're on the money. They may have to change it 10,000 here, 10,000 there, but they let us know in enough time before the warrant needs to be printed.
But we usually get an earlier one too, in December, so we
Right.
have an idea of where things are headed. And then on top of it, it's the capital, because the capital planning for Berlin makes its decisions in January. So they already made their decisions for capital spending for the next year. And then we tried to meet last week, but we didn't have enough information on what was in the school budget. So we're waiting on more, so the capital planning's waiting on more details, if they can even vote on anything.
Yeah.
We did that.
So,
It just, it helps. So I understand the consultant saying wait as long as you can because things can be volatile
Yeah.
and we
That's
don't know
the school
state
side.
numbers. But
That's the school side. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
he's
you have to
consulting
think in-
us.
You have
Yes.
to think in conjunction, though, with you have to fit into Boylston and Berlin's budgets.
Right.
And most schools, I think, are what about 50% of a town's budget, or
The school,
60?
50 or 60.
That's
We learned that
it.
at
I mean,
the
you,
time.
if
We're
you're
over.
going to end up being 90, there's going to be no town.
right.
So you have to work with the towns.
Yes, I completely agree. Yep. I completely agree.
Just so you know, in the packet, there's a 5-year capital plan
Okay.
with
good.
more
Good.
detail.
That's very
So that should
beneficial.
help the
Thank you.
capital committee.
Yeah, so I mean, if it's helpful for next year, then we can try to do things a little bit earlier. The other thing is that the consultant we had, they are trying to get, at the end of the day, it's not our decision sitting at this table, right? It's the community. And we saw that last year where I had no idea going into town meeting. I thought the budget was going to fail. But, I didn't go to the Berlin town meeting. I know Julie was there. I know we had more than a 2/3 majority in Boylston that came out to vote for the budget.
But now they've seen their tax bills.
Right, so it could be different this year.
$600
I agree
higher
with you.
than it was before.
But at the
So
end of the
I don't
day-
think most people can't afford it.
I agree. Well, again, at the end of the day, it's not me to sit here and dictate for everybody in the town. That's the beauty of politics and voting, right? It's again, we're going
trying to
vote.
work together, though. It's not like let's
I
pit
agree.
each other against
No,
each other.
I don't
even
wanna
on the
do
floor
that.
at town meeting. That's just not appropriate.
Yeah, and I wasn't at Berlin, so I don't know what happened last
Oh,
year.
it was very
Oh.
amicable.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was. Because we tried to solve it beforehand by
Yep.
throwing money at it, which then got counted against us this year.
But I will say that for Boylston situation, we know what it's going to take for us to get over our levy limit, and we've given that number.
Yeah, and that's
Which is
what
a
I'm looking
scary
at.
place to be
Yeah, we don't
because
wanna get
I
there.
agree. It puts us in. We are going to be pushing up against the levy limit every year going forward. This is going to be a problem because I do not see huge growth coming.
And so it has to be in proportion with Berlin.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
if you're going to hit your levy limit, it doesn't really matter if we
Right.
hit it or not. You still have to do the proportion for Boylston.
Yep.
Equal
And
to
people
the
at town
proportion of
meeting
Berlin.
can say, "Oh, this is wonderful. We don't care. We'll go up 50%." Then it still has to pass at a vote.
ballot.
It has to go to
on
a ballot.
Yes.
And now it's the entire town, not just the people who showed up for that one meeting.
Right.
So it's a different story, especially when you see people who have seen huge increases in their tax bill the previous year to now come out, because now they will come out. And it's so we want to prevent that. We want to
Right.
make sure that we're being fiscally responsible and meeting the needs, because we want to meet the needs of the students. It's very important. It's I believe one of the driving factors for people to want to live in our communities.
That's right.
Because of our wonderful school district, and we want to see that continue. But we also want to make it
But we also want an honest
Responsible.
number, too, of, what the towns can afford.
What do you mean by you don't see growth in your community?
I think we saw 375,000 in new growth.
like
So-
building commercial.
Oh, you're talking commercial.
Yes. or
Commercial,
something
new
that's gonna
homes, anything that
do-
is being. So your new growth numbers are going to be all of your
Wow.
porches, additions, new garage, new
Okay, I see what you're
businesses.
saying.
That is
That makes sense.
factors into your revenue stream. So that's coming. You can see it. You know that you're going to be receiving taxes from that. So
we
that
all
builds
need to put
into
on a new
your
porch.
right.
Yeah, and the older towns where there's not a lot of land and you're not doing a lot of building projects. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
There's probably like one in Boylston. It's like Perry Road is still building new homes. That's
Yeah,
about
so
it.
it's
Yep.
we did see
Makes
a flurry of activity on 140, but that's slowing down now. So it's not like we're
Right.
going to see these big
That
makes sense. Amazed.
jumps.
That makes sense.
So,
yeah,
yeah.
no, it makes sense. And I don't want. We're taxpayers too. I mean, everyone on the school committee, right? So, I mean, I don't want to make it so, like Carol and I, we've talked about this. I'm not looking to push to an override situation. Absolutely not. But at the same point in time, we need to figure out how we can meet the needs of the school. And I also have a child at Boylston Elementary, and the thought of not having not hiring a teacher this year means that my kid is going to be in a class with almost 30 kids in second grade. she's not going to learn anything with 30 children, and the classrooms aren't even big enough to house that many students. They're going to be like elbow to elbow, you know, so that's a scary situation too. At that point, how much learning is going on in that room, and with no paraprofessional and 30 kids in a classroom. So I guess I'm seeing both sides of it, and you're right, we need to kind of work together and figure out what do we need. So what we committed to, and we're not going to do it here, we committed to looking through. Nancy has ever so graciously printed out this, you know, these line by line, and again, I don't want to spend hours going through this here, but you can take this to go and you know, question whatever you want through email. Just make sure you CC Carol, me, and Nancy, you know, Julie, whatever. So we've committed to going through and trying to see, you know, I like to use the word trim up. If there's any places that we can trim up, is there anything we actually don't need? This is not a governmental budgeting strategy, right? A governmental budgeting strategy is you take the budget from last year and you just add on. In business, you take your actual expenses from the prior year and you do it that way. So we're trying
zero-based budgeting.
A zero-based budgeting, exactly. And but we don't do, you know, again, I'm learning governmental. I'm coming from a corporate background where what we did is we took our actual expenses, and that's what I did. I did a budget.
That's why, you know, you got two certified people here that could be doing this for you. You know, these people are certified to do
the way
budget,
they did the budget was they started with fiscal 24 and they added up. They didn't do it that way. So I have asked if we can look at actuals and do it that way. To see if we can trim in an attempt to meet the towns. So
I tell you, one of the things that we're doing, I'm asking my finance committee to do, is we're partnering with a company called ClearGov, and so we're going to have direct imports from our accounting software go in, and the town's going to be able to see it. You're going to be able to look and say, oh, you were budgeted for 500, you spent 350, there was 150 at the end.
That's all I want to do.
And then we'll see actual numbers. We don't get to see that because we're not into your software, but the town's going to be seeing that. Residents are going to be seeing that on the town side. So we are going for as much transparency as possible so that we can do what you're talking about.
What's it called? ClearGov?
ClearGov.
So I mean, again, no one's in the wrong here. I'm not trying to say, but that's just not a philosophy that's been used in government, right? They start with the fiscal 24 budget and they're saying, all right, we need 2 new teachers, we need 3, you know.
Not always. I mean, school committee has often done it from zero-based budgeting. You have
in our town?
Yes. I was on the school committee for 15 years.
Well, I guess maybe that was when Bob was here.
Oh no, it was many more other finance committee.
All right. Well, and that's since I've done it.
Yeah, but things,
Well,
with
you
all
do that.
due respect, like this, you know, schools were not in great shape then, you know, right?
Well,
They
we
just
had
weren't.
a newer school.
Well, sure, that's great. We have
newer.
and that's great, but there were significant needs, and I think that's the point of these budgets. Like these needs are.
You can't catch up in a year, though.
We're not
You know,
trying to
and
catch up in a year. It's a 5-year plan. I don't think. I mean, these are modest asks. These are not extreme asks.
Well, I mean, the dollars aren't all that modest.
Well, what? So if you were to
Here,
look at
I'll
this,
look at that.
you know, what would you say is
And
something that could
I
go?
can speak to these
2.5%.
I understand
Can I
the
bring
percentage.
a point, because Kristen has basically balanced our budget
Yes.
with the schools in at 2.5%.
Okay.
Because everybody else has turned in their budget packets, and we were basically done, except the school was late for our needs, so you're the ones holding us up. We know we have the 2.5%.
Okay.
And
all right.
we
So
don't
this is
know- I mean,
okay.
And we're not being
I-
hard
and
on
I'm-
the schools either because
But it
it
All
was
right.
asked of
We've-
all
So
departments.
yeah, no, I understand.
to
All right. So here's the
2.5%.
deal. So we're what's today? March 6th. So you're going to get the number on March 19th. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do to change it. Even if I wanted to I am not the rule
Same
maker.
here,
Right? It's
you
a
know.
committee.
Yeah.
So I understand your concerns, and we will take those into consideration for whoever may be the chair of the school committee next year or whoever's doing this next year. So we'll make sure we pass those along. That this isn't a productive conversation right now. We need to move forward with what we're here to do. So I want to. So I think we have these. So I think it would be helpful if you guys, you know, if you have questions about any of these, we're going to work to trim things down. You know, and we're going to, you know, again, the committee has to vote on the number. It's not me and Julie saying we'll do this or we'll do that or I want this or I want that. At the end of the day, it's going to be what the committee votes. So Nancy is working to get us accurate and try to trim as much as they can. Carol's been working with administration to trim as much, and at the end of the day, we're going to do the best we can, and then the committee's going to end up voting on it, and that is the number that's going to go to you guys. So I apologize for not having more information ahead of time. We are where we are right now. We did have a plan, we did have a schedule, we've been sticking to it. And I know there was, discourse. I wish, back in February, you guys said this isn't going to work for us. I haven't heard from anybody or anything. You can go. I don't have any emails or anything from anybody.
Like even the date tonight, that,
I don't have any invitation from Scott. I'm sorry. I wish
maybe it was just you two then,
So perhaps, I don't.
and that's fine.
Julie, did you receive an invitation? Yeah, so I don't know what to say about that. My husband's out of town. I have a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. I don't. I wish I had known.
That's probably.
It's on hybrid, so.
Contractual increases.
You go to.
I just asked, what will the
You go to
2.5
this
cover?
page. This one that looks like that. So this will show you at BMS. To stay within the 2.5, we have to cut every one of the above level,
Yeah.
and an additional 521,000.
So that would
From
be
level.
cutting.
And that's
Level.
not including the 382.
Yeah,
But two.
yeah, it does.
Okay.
At the end of the day, it does.
Okay.
This
So
includes
then
that.
we'd be cutting contractual increases, which would essentially mean you would be cutting jobs.
You cut teachers.
But this
Unless,
is what happens when
I think all the
increased
principal.
the budget so much last year, too. I mean,
But that
you're
was
starting from that.
sure, but we understand last year's budget increase had a lot to do with special ed, which was
In this year, we have the
Right.
special ed
Right.
transportation. We have a
Right,
lot
which
of
is
contractual increases that we can't help. That's included in the level too.
right. So I understand because I do the rec too, but that 2.5, for schools to be held to that same 2.5, that's a big ask.
It has been.
I
But
understand
because
that,
of
but we
the-
don't have
because of
things
the-
because it has been Chris.
I think it was basically because of the $380,000, that issue.
With the special ed.
With the free
With
cash,
us paying that
For the
free
special
cash.
ed.
Even
Yeah.
with that, we're not going to be able to hit 2.5. Nancy.
You mean even without that?
Sorry,
Yeah. Or
even
with that.
without even with that
So-
done with your math, the way Kristen did it,
Right.
we're still not near
Yeah,
2.5.
I understand your
because
question
of
now.
Tohoto.
Yes, you gotta add
It's
that
not
in.
because
Sorry, I
of Berlin
misunderstood.
Memorial.
Yeah.
It's because of Tohoto.
Because these are
Even
based off
So
of
that
the-
500,
that.
you
I
got
don't
to
know.
add another.
I'm
2
positive.
into
Look,
that. So now
it's
you're
right
at
here.
8 something.
Yep.
I'm not
Berlin-
sure what you're saying is what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is, even if you just said, Julie said 2.5 is tough to meet. You said a big
Yes, it
part of
is.
that. Yeah, you said a big part of that is because of the free cash, the way that was handled.
No, I'm saying that's because of that feeling from different participants in the budget. Because of what happened last year, they're saying 2.5. That's it.
Okay,
That's
and I
all.
understand that. And I understand that. And I
don't
wasn't
understand
involved
that.
in what happened with
I don't understand
whatever that was last year. So she's saying that they're feeling frustrated because they feel that we didn't handle that 382,000 properly. So they're saying this year we're just giving you the 2.5 because we made a deal with you to give you the cash and you weren't supposed to include it in your assessment and you did.
Well, I mean, it would have been nice if someone had said, "Oh, by the way, we have to include it," but nobody did until this year.
I'm sorry. I
wait,
wish,
is the
Chris,
school
I wish I could go back in time and do things differently. I'm hearing about.
Well, so
Wait a
do
minute,
I.
wait a minute,
Yes,
wait a minute.
so I'm
now
sorry.
Is the school being scolded because of something that happened?
No,
so to
I think
speak?
people are just upset.
Okay,
And this is a more general thing. It's not just,
Sure.
because we sit on these committees, but people talk to us. And one of the things I found interesting since moving here, this is the first year I've had people stressing to me about their taxes
yeah.
who have never said anything before about
But you have to understand too is that the schools were not advocated for
Oh, yes,
as
they were.
strongly.
Yes,
Chris,
they
I've
were.
been here a while.
I stood up individually myself and begged for things.
yeah, but
I did.
we.
Mhm.
And I've never seen anybody since that beg at town meeting. I got up and
Beg?
begged for desks for kids that were all broken. And they understood these things were broken, and they voted for them. But up
So
until
do people not understand the needs? Is that what you're suggesting then? Maybe they don't understand the picture?
well, I don't know.
I'm
That would be up to the individuals, I guess.
Okay,
You
so
know,
maybe
and I
that's
think-
it. People don't understand that,
But they also don't understand the town budget and the school budget.
True.
So that
And-
might be,
and
maybe we require everybody to go to a little
Workshop.
presentation on this is how your school budget works, this is how your town budget works, or something.
I would just add to what Julie's saying, and I'm listening to this whole thing, and this applies to both towns. For years, we've always been trying to meet the town's requests to the point where our schools suffered because of that. We've been sliding backward with the needs. That's what we feel like we've gotten into situations here with capital issues and some of the needs that we have within the operational budget.
And I get
so
up
I think that's you're
Agree.
that's what you're kind of talking about. We try to be fiscally responsible. Last year we went for it all. I mean, we went for a lot. I mean, certainly we recognize that. But I think that's really what happened in our efforts in years past. We haven't advocated enough for what we really need, and
Must
that's
have
why
been
we're in this position.
since I left.
Yeah, and it's not because of
Because I
us. And it's not
honestly-
because of any of us
I
wanting
honestly
like
was in front of the
a
town
special
meeting
special
every year.
shiny object. It's really things that
Yeah, these
we're
are just
suffering
needs.
because of
Yeah.
personnel and the needs of our children.
Personnel
you know.
is, yeah.
You know, that's where it is.
I agree. I don't think we're asking for anything crazy.
I keep wanting to go.
The staff is the most important thing.
The staff
That
and the materials
really
to
is.
teach the children.
Yes.
I want to. So
Yes,
two things. I want
the
to.
staff.
I'd like to look at this page so you're clear on what's on here and what I've recommended and why I have. I don't know if that discussion has even been had yet. The other piece I would tell you when I mentioned this to April, I met with the admin team. I showed them the page that we had back here about how much would need to be cut. They have these itemized lists.
Mm-hmm.
They plunged into it. They're already on a roll. I want them done by Monday of what areas we truly can trim from. We may be able to get the numbers down significantly, and then they're going to meet with Nancy on Monday to share with that. So I'm cautiously, I don't want to even say optimistic, but I'm cautiously feeling that we can make a difference and dents in this. And I say the things even on here too, I would say, these are things we need, but these are, we can delay them for, to your point, 5-year plans. What are our 5-year plan for these things?
You have a bunch of items,
Right.
spread them out over the 5 years. But the trouble is that then some of those might have to go by the wayside if something more important comes up.
Well, we're always,
But
right.
you can't keep
Well,
adding
Carol
to
does
it.
that.
And you know where that
Yeah.
comes from, Chris? Honestly, everybody, that comes from a lot with the needs we have, the population's children coming in.
Yes.
Or special, right? Because that's what
Absolutely.
happened last year
Yes.
at the 11th hour, and we're
I
like,
get it.
what? We
You
just
know.
got numbers now about that changed what we were even looking at to cut because of that. So it's always changing. One of the things I like what Berlin does is you have a pot of money, like kind of for a rainy day. What is it called? The assessment?
Stabilization.
Stabilization, right.
Yeah.
But some of them are allocated to only certain things.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, God, if we could just get like that. We've tried to do that with
Well,
special
you have an
education
ED.
every year. Years ago, we tried to put special education, say for
Yeah.
rainy day, right?
Yeah.
That we haven't even been able to put into that account.
Right.
Because everything we try to put in there, we've had to pull out. So that's our issue.
That
But-
should be the first thing you maybe put something
Like
in there every year.
Yeah, like
Like they tell you with your
like
bank
your
account.
banking
you know.
account. So
Okay, so I think we're
like,
gonna.
Anyway,
like
let's
too,
look at-
we have to understand 15 years ago, very different.
very different time.
I mean,
Yeah, but I've kept in touch too.
no, but I know you have. But in terms of like the safety in the schools, what's required there? What's required for the social emotional piece with the students? I mean,
Oh, I know, they keep adding.
They're
Yeah.
The state keeps
massively
adding,
underfunded.
so there's nothing that we can do. Yeah.
Unfunded mandates.
Yes,
Right,
exactly.
unfunded,
Yes, we're going to have a financial literacy class. We're going to have a trainer in the next 2 years. I mean, these are things just to
Yeah,
have our high
that's
school be able to participate.
Honestly,
None of this
that's
is-
the bigger issue than all of us put together because we keep getting mandates
Yeah.
and we have to come up with the money. I'll give you a
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
example. If you look on the first page and you see the math teacher, that the reason we have the athletic director, we are trying to push that into a full-time position, but I can't, it's personnel pieces, but we need a math teacher.
Yes.
We need another math teacher, and one of the responsibilities of that math teacher is to deal with the financial literacy mandate that we have from the state. We have to have a teacher to teach that, so that's what we're going for with that math teacher. We're already a little bit behind. We should have had it last year, but we need it. We need to get that person in there. We need another position. That's why I was like, that is a huge piece.
Because
So
that's a
that's-
graduation requirement.
It is good. Yeah, it
So
is.
if that's number one. Is
That's
that-
number one.
Is that number one?
I would say
Then one of you
For
guys
you,
needs
for
to get up at town meeting
Yeah,
and
but-
explain why we need this
prioritize.
math teacher so badly.
and everybody would be a hooray because the kids.
And if that's
can't-
what the increase
budget.
is for, they'll vote for it if they
Right.
get it
Yeah.
explained to them.
Yeah.
That's what I
And
mean. I don't think
did.
people understand. Yeah, the picture.
I would- right.
So we
Yes.
did, we did that in Boylston last year. We actually had we fought for kindergarten paraprofessionals. We have 60-something children
It
in.
wasn't like that over
Okay,
in Berlin, though. We
so I
didn't
mean,
have
I
that
stood
dialogue
up.
that
I don't have a
Boylston
child
had.
in kindergarten. I stood up and
Of
I
course.
begged for
But your
3
school committee, you
paraprofessionals.
should stand up.
Yes, and I did. And so did Laurie Hart, and so did Jessica Degliabardi. All 3 of us stood up. We had a couple teachers stand up. So, like
No,
I said,
that's great.
I'm sorry. I didn't
Yeah.
go to that meeting. I was in the Boylston one.
Ours went
We-
fine
yeah.
last
Totally
year
fine.
because we agreed
It was just a number,
that
and
we were
peop-
going to give you $300,000.
Okay, we didn't have that, and we had somebody
Yeah.
from the finance committee in
Right.
Boylston
There wasn't
stand up
any.
and speak up against us.
Yep.
So we did have a back and forth. We had people stand up and say in favor and,
And there will
against.
be. There might
And
be.
so, but we did that
But
last
if
year.
you,
We
you'll
had
feel
3
good about
things.
yourself if you get up and,
Yes,
stand
of
and
course.
advocate for
So
it.
we
Yeah,
had
good
3
advocate.
things we asked for last year in Boylston, and they passed. So,
I would be very comfortable doing that. I feel very strongly about that piece, and I know that Julie would be there, Mike would be
Yeah,
there.
I mean, it's good
Yeah.
to have the school committee get up and say, this is why.
Yeah.
Yep.
Out one door me, whatever you need.
Yep.
So I would be
And,
happy.
yeah.
I feel that is a huge one. The other huge one is the classroom teacher over in Boylston.
Boylston.
To Megan's point, I mean, we have grown enough that we do need that classroom teacher over there. Cindy, who's the principal there, and I have looked at that numerous ways and numerous times. The other one, and then the curriculum materials are just the curriculum materials.
Right.
It's the
The
materials
stuff.
to teach the kids.
Right.
The OT we've looked at, we used to have a contracted person, and I questioned Janelle about that again today, so I want to take a look at that with her a little bit more. We do need another person. I can't say that either. Okay, I was thinking what I have to can say. There's a change with the OT, so but we have more needs now with OT across the district.
Tell them
so
what
we're
OT
sharing.
is. They don't know.
Right, right. I have
That's
right.
true too. The people
Yeah.
don't
Right,
know.
right. So
They
we
don't
can
know.
happy to talk about that. Those are the areas. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of it. The others, either as to your point, we're going to wait, delay, or we're going to abandon.
but even with all that being said, we're way over 2.5%.
We are.
So that's where you're saying
Well,
yes,
if we could
yes,
figure
yes.
out- if we could figure out what we spent last year, get that off the plate, then I think maybe we could,
Figure it out.
And
But if those
delegate it
kids
out.
are still in the district, we're still spending the money on those kids. That $382,000 that was given last year, that was for you, Nancy. You said that was for special.
It is. We really can't talk about.
Yes, but I'm
because
just
it
saying.
can
I was
easily
just gonna say, but we
pinpoint.
can't talk
So
about
You're not
yeah.
going to pinpoint who it's for, but if it was for in-district, if it was for kids that moved into the district, unless those people have relocated from the district, we're going to need that money this year. Whether it's free cash or assessment, it's a state mandate. We need the money.
There's
So-
been movement.
There's been movement. So
So, can I just, let's see, I was going to ask you, let me, give me a minute, I'll think about how I,
Well, Chris is thinking. I
Story
have
of my life.
So
yeah.
have you or should start to deduct these amounts in white yet? I don't think we have. That
I have not.
figure.
I was
Yeah.
going to wait till I met with the principals on Monday and then
know how
really.
much that right would be.
Yeah.
I can figure that out later, but I want to look at what.
I was
Take that
wondering
off
that too.
already. You might be down
Yep.
a couple of hundred.
No.
thousand.
So that's what we
Yeah,
did.
well,
That's what I did
that's
yesterday when I was doing
Oh,
those.
that's what
Yeah,
you.
250.
For
You go so
Boylston.
fast, I can't.
Yeah.
Like your
So
brain
she
is
needs to do that here.
Very
The Honda
quick.
would be
All right,
like
so this
250.
is where we stand. So we're going to continue to work to trim these numbers. We're going to meet on March 19th and we're going to vote. Hopefully we'll we're gonna need to have another budget subcommittee meeting, Julie,
Yep.
next week probably.
Okay, no problem.
Yep, and where we'll get these down. So now we have the
idea.
number from Berlin. It's 2.5% using that original number, and we have the number from Boylston, and we're gonna work to get there.
Do we want to touch on capital real quick or no? It's up to you. Because we do
Yeah.
have,
So
we do
again,
have
Kristen
some
gave us a number for
adjustments.
free cash. I thought in Berlin, I thought it was like around 500. Yeah. You want to talk about capital? That's fine.
Yeah, so,
Because some of it's already been allocated.
She told us what wasn't allocated. She said the 500,000 was our piece.
She did. I wish she was here.
She said 500 was
Yeah,
yours?
pretty.
yes,
Yeah.
500.
Not just Berlin
Agreed.
Memorial. It was total
thought it
that
was-
she had between.
Wait, no, that was Boylston. Boylston's 500.
Kristen.
Because I thought-
Boylston
Are we talking
hasn't
about
said anything
capital
on
or
capital
operating?
yet.
Capital.
Oh,
480.
okay.
Yeah, that's okay. That you're
Jules,
changing.
we're-
Yeah,
we're right.
it's 5, you're
We
right.
raised it.
Yeah.
But it was
so 480.
But the and I think from the problem with the meeting, we had the meeting last week at Capitol last Thursday, and I think the recommendation was to use
Yeah, 5.
part of that amount to pay for the Tohoto capital, so that we would be on
Yep.
board with Boylston, and there
She
wouldn't
gave
be
you
any
a printout
difference
for
between
this stuff, I thought,
the two.
when we
Yes,
met
to either
last time.
put, here's the money, decide where you want to put it. Do you want to put it toward Tohoto,
Budget.
right, or you want to put it toward Berlin? I think
Well,
that's
Well,
what
the
she
thing
showed
is,
it to
well, the
me.
thing is, I think what was the number for
And you can take it
Tohoto
with
for
you?
us?
I
It
took
was
a
like
picture on my
200 and
phone.
something.
And that's
It wasn't
kind
the
of how
full
I
amount.
came up
So
with
here's the deal.
that.
It's Carol's decision. You guys are gonna say, you got like, again, I'm going by what we've done in Boylston. They've come in and they've said we can give you 200,000 for capital. It's Carol's decision how she's going to allocate that. If she decides she needs to like there might be stuff at Berlin Memorial she can't put off. I'm going by her recommendation for this
She
stuff.
said there were certain things that, if we take the roof off,
Right, we
there were
talked about
certain
that. I don't
things
have,
that,
right.
whatever was left on that list, which I thought she gave you a copy
So-
of.
Yes, I probably have that over on my desk right now, but I think that too.
Was it this or no?
Yeah, because if I remember,
So
the
for
way Bob used to
BMS,
do it,
she
we
said
didn't
if
just
we
give a
took the
flat number. He told us
HVAC
exactly
and the
what,
roof off, the rest
was
could be
going on.
funded.
What
Oh,
he
That
meant.
that was
So
it.
that's what this is.
Okay.
The roof on it.
But the, so the, right, so the thing I was saying about the HVAC, and Dan has stepped out.
I can,
And we,
But when they're saying no, there's not enough money for that, then it's and then
What's-
come back and
what's
say, well,
the
how much is
HVAC?
how much do
One
you
of our
actually
meetings,
have?
It
to
was
get?
me.
air
It was
conditioning.
me. I
For
said,
air
you need to
conditioning?
say what it is.
Because she's got to pick
But
what she's
I didn't
cutting.
realize,
It shouldn't
and
be
what
the
Dan was
town's
gonna
decision
speak
what
to
she
today
cuts.
is- and I didn't know
No, I
this,
get that.
the HVAC system, the controls
So they've moved a
are
bunch of
original.
stuff.
So it's not only about air conditioning, it's about the heating units as well. Now, he could tell you
Okay,
more in depth about that.
and if
There-
we suspect that
It's already
there will be
1:41, so I'm going to be
questions
moving. We
Yes.
got to
on
move
that
on.
particular item, maybe
So-
he should be
He
at
should
town
absolutely,
meeting.
because I can't speak to HV. Here he is.
All right,
Here he is.
Dan.
Hey, how did you
Um,
know?
So it's
This is your moment to shine. HVAC at Berlin. Could you explain why
So
we
it's
need that
heating
on
and
that?
air conditioning?
It's both, yes.
Okay.
So right now you are running with pellets and oil as a backup.
Yep.
So we would go through do mean splits in all different areas, especially classrooms and office spaces. One, you get anywhere between 25 to 50% back from National Grid incentives, and also possibly completely eliminating the oil. You won't need any oil anymore.
No? Okay. And the air conditioning?
they're in the mini split.
During the mini splits.
Okay, okay. You know, that's something, you know, I mean, not a lot of schools have air conditioning, right? Full air conditioning.
It's changing.
It is
Yeah,
changing.
true.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
being in 90 degrees, sitting in an office all day?
I can, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know anyone else that.
Not that I would like it.
I'm just saying, I don't know anyone else that does it, so I think it's cruel to make our children do it. I don't.
The worst was the upstairs.
The upstairs,
And
yeah.
especially
Yeah.
in our room with the sun roof.
Well, I know, as like you said, I think with the different changes in our
Yeah.
atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yes, there's no
It used to
doubting
be-
that.
It is
I
gonna
graduated
change.
from Tohoto. I remember what it was like, and it was the
never-
last couple weeks of the school year were hard.
Maybe,
but it's
yes.
moving. It's moving now. It's
It was
becoming
never
more like
90s
Now it's
in
warm all year
April.
round.
Yeah.
We won't have to pay for heat,
I
maybe.
know.
That's probably. I got but the heat. My heat bill's been going down here. My heat
Yeah.
is barely kicking on anymore, so it's got to be. But I mean, you never had 90-degree weather in April. We had 90-degree weather last April. It was awful.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, that doesn't never happen. When I was in school, we were lucky. I remember August; it was freezing. My mom would have blankets back on the beds by the end of
This is something
August.
that you really need to get out there and publicize, because a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, well, I didn't have air conditioning. They don't need it."
They don't
they're
need
not
it.
I
thinking.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
We
you might
did
wanna
it
get
in
out
Boylston
there and
already.
say It
Yes.
includes air conditioning.
Yes, and,
That's a good
and we did
idea.
it in Boylston already. The mini splits are almost done being installed in Boylston.
Oh.
But
So
well, see, another good point is you're most likely going to save energy costs
yes,
because I switched from basic electric baseboard to mini splits and saw my electric bill throughout the year go down
Me too. I do.
because I had like window AC units before that, and it was amazing, like the big drop. And I have a small house, and I'm sure if I go full school, and those are the sort of numbers that say, hey, you know, we're making this change, we're spending this much money, but in the long term, we are going to save ourselves money.
These are the savings we want to.
You know.
Yeah, we're anticipating.
yeah.
I know there's a lot of residents that doesn't want to use the oil also.
Yeah,
I mean, your pellet boilers, they work great, but just like they only heat 75% of your building.
yeah,
They don't do 100%.
yeah.
So
Have they-
that's why
have they-
you need that oil backup.
yeah.
Had they figured out in the school how to make the whole building warm? Because I know, like, the arms of the different wings, you
It's-
know,
it's
it
just
didn't
the-
reach to the very end.
First grade
Yeah.
classroom.
It's just the design for them when they do the pellets.
Yeah.
You know, that's why you have to have that oil backup.
Yeah.
Now with this, it'll eliminate it because every single zone, every single classroom will have their own separate heat. Say if something happens with the pellets,
Yeah.
But can't say you don't have heat. You have heat. Here's your backup.
Yeah.
All right. So we're way over time. So is there any other questions on the Capitol? We're still,
We
you
have
know, and again, yep. So we have
received the
quotes.
majority of
Yep.
the quotes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I will send this off to the Capital Planning Committee.
Great.
We're going
Okay.
to meet. We were supposed to meet tomorrow night, but we have to schedule to next Thursday, I think. And they'll make sure we have all the questions answered. Also, I think even though Kristen said the money's there, it's up to the Capital Planning Committee to vote how that money is
Okay.
dispersed.
So do you want us to come back again? Is that what you're asking for?
Well,
the capital?
Well, what I was going to do is make sure that the rest of the Capital Planning Committee doesn't have any other questions on, because
Yeah.
they had a lot of questions last week on what the actual
I'm sorry I
requests were.
couldn't be there. I
What
wasn't
was the
here in
information they
district.
were waiting on?
Well, basically, we only had the line items and
Oh.
getting the descriptions of it. And,
On the HVAC, just what we
Yeah.
discussed.
yeah.
So and you know, Julie, the best way to just so everybody's informed, like Carol and I talked about the other day, we have a piece of it, and then other people don't know. You know what I mean? The best way is if you email Nancy, Carol, and I, then I will make sure the school committee has the information, and Nancy and Carol, Nancy will make sure Dan gets it. You know, and Carol.
Yeah.
So that's the best way. You know, if you have questions on this stuff, and then you get them out ahead of time, and that way when we're going to these meetings, we're productive and we're not asking questions that Nancy is unable to answer because she doesn't have her information, or we can't answer because we don't have the
At the
information.
capital meeting last week.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So
Actually, it was good that you came because at
I
least
felt
you
so
got the
bad,
thing. You know,
though.
you got things moving.
Right,
As opposed
okay.
to if we were there without you, we would.
Yeah,
would
that's
probably
a
wouldn't
lot.
have this, right? So
Yeah.
okay,
That's a
well that
good
makes me
point.
feel better.
Yeah.
Okay.
all right. So all right. So why don't we? So if there's any questions, let us know on this. And again, this might change. The school committee's going to vote on March 19th. And does anyone have any other questions before we adjourn?
Oh, I know what I was
So
going to
you,
ask
so
you.
you will not
Yeah.
be coming tonight.
I am unable to. Yep.
Okay.
So, and again, this budget, this is what we have. You have it now. It's not voted on. It's going to change. So there's really nothing else to be said. You should probably be able to take what you heard here and this information and present it to your finance committee, and they can go from that. I don't even see a reason for Carol and Nancy to come. Do you know what I mean?
Here? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you go,
Well, Scott was the one who told me that he had set it up.
He had not reached out to me.
And he just told me
He
to
just
put
said
it
he wasn't coming today. That was I had sent an email to you and
That's the
Scott
part I
Yeah.
did.
and Chris
Right.
and April
But the
and Matt
figures,
and
they're in
all the
there.
select board, and I
So
asked
to-
that's why I like usually email all the people, and I'm like, you're invited to come, and then everybody like privately emails me and says I can make it or I can't. So I never got an email from him. So and my husband's out of town this week. So
Okay.
all right. So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Second.
you.
All in favor? Aye.